Chloe left me again for Ethan. This time, I think I was finally completely done with the whole ordeal. As she was leaving, she told me, "Alex, go find yourself a real girlfriend. I won't be coming back to you." I just nodded and managed a smile, saying, "Okay." She must have thought that I would always be there, a safe place for her to land whenever she wanted to come back. But later, after she and Ethan inevitably broke up again and she came looking for me, she would find me downstairs, kissing my new girlfriend with a passion she had never known from me. The night would be dark, and Chloe would see the boy who had once offered her nothing but gentle tenderness, now murmuring sweet nothings to another woman. "Sarah, don't be jealous, all right? I haven't liked her for a long, long time." When I was about to make a wish over my own birthday cake, I noticed Chloe had zoned out for the third time. She was staring into space, her phone in her hand as she absent-mindedly unlocked and locked the screen over and over. Suddenly, the screen lit up with a notification, and the slight furrow in her brow instantly smoothed over. In the middle of everyone singing "Happy Birthday" to me, Chloe simply got up and walked out of the private room. The song faltered and trailed off into an awkward silence. The person next to me nudged my arm, their voice filled with concern. "Alex, are you okay?" I offered a bitter smile. "What's there to be okay about? After all these years, I'm used to it." The room filled with the low buzz of whispers. "I just saw on social media, Ethan came back to the country 2 days ago." Did Chloe go pick him up from the airport? Of course she did. Everyone knows how obsessed she is with him. Keep it down, don't let Alex hear. So what if he hears? He's the second choice, he has to live with it. Now that the main guy is back, he's out. The voices grew louder, more careless. Just then, the door swung open. Chloe was back, but this time Ethan was with her. They were both wearing matching black cashmere coats. Chloe looked slender and beautiful. Ethan was tall and strikingly handsome. They looked like a perfect couple, straight out of a magazine. Everyone in the room immediately flocked to them, their voices loud with excitement. I wisely stood to the side, choosing not to get any closer, until Chloe's voice cut through the noise. "Alex?" The room fell silent. Every eye in the place turned to me, the man who was, until a moment ago, supposedly her boyfriend. Ethan looked at me as well, his expression souring as he let go of Chloe's hand. She seemed a bit flustered, murmuring something to him until he cracked a smile. Then she walked over to me. "Alex, I have something to tell you." I looked up at her, my heart a dull weight in my chest. After a moment, I asked softly, "Can't it wait until after I cut the cake?" Chloe wouldn't meet my eyes. "Alex," I put down the cake knife, waiting for the inevitable. "You know I've always had Ethan in my heart," she said, her brow furrowing slightly as she finally looked at me. "And honestly, you're just not my type. Being with you these past few days has been pretty boring." "Are we breaking up?" I asked. She nodded without a trace of hesitation. "Alex, go get yourself a girlfriend. I won't be bothering you anymore." It wasn't the first time she'd said words to this effect. In the past, I had always stubbornly shaken my head, refusing to accept it. This time, however, I just smiled and nodded. "Okay." Chloe frowned slightly, as if she was surprised by my easy acceptance and wanted to say something else, but Ethan was already calling for her impatiently. "Chloe, seriously? How long does it take to break up with him?" She said nothing more, turned, and walked away with Ethan. My hands clenched into fists, my fingernails digging into my palms so hard I should have felt pain, but I felt nothing. Still, I couldn't stop my eyes from following her as she left, each step so decisive and final. I counted them. It took her 11 steps to walk out of my life. And as that 11th step landed, It felt like something inside me finally let go for good. Once Chloe was gone, the rest of the party guests started to disperse as well. I stared at the untouched birthday cake in front of me. I cut a single slice and placed it on a plate, then opened a bottle of wine. In the end, I didn't touch the cake, but I finished the entire bottle of wine by myself. Putting on my coat, I walked out of the empty room. Not far away, someone was setting off fireworks. I stopped on the sidewalk and watched for a while as the sky exploded in brilliant bursts of color. It was then that I saw them. Chloe, nestled safely in Ethan's arms. He was smiling down at her, a brilliant, happy smile, and she had her arms wrapped tightly around his waist. She lifted her head, and they shared a tender kiss. It was my birthday, but it was painfully clear these fireworks weren't for me. I let out a hollow laugh at my own expense and turned, stumbling forward into the night. My head was spinning from the wine, and a group of guys loitering on the street tried to stop me. "Hey man, want to hang out with us?" I felt a surge of panic. Other than Chloe, I didn't know anyone in this city, but could I really call her for help now? As I hesitated, distracted, someone grabbed my wrist tightly. I struggled, but I was too drunk to put up a real fight. Just as one of them raised a hand towards my face, I saw a familiar figure through the hazy darkness. Sarah. She was wearing a dark gray knee-length coat and seemed to be talking on her phone. The dappled light from a street lamp fell on her profile. Without thinking, I cried out her name. "Sarah!" When Sarah turned to look at me, her eyes were cool, like starlight on a winter night, holding no warmth or emotion. But after a moment's hesitation, she hung up the phone and walked towards me. The men holding me seemed to recognize her, or at least recognize she was not someone to be trifled with, and wisely let go, melting back into the shadows. As soon as they released me, my legs gave out. Sarah reached out, her hand surprisingly strong as she held me steady. "Stand up," she said, her voice firm. I whispered a thank you, trying my best to get my feet under me, but I still wobbled, nearly falling several times. Sarah frowned slightly, continuing to support my weight. "Where's Chloe? Not with you?" "Broke up," I mumbled. I think I might have heard her give a short, humorless chuckle, but I couldn't be sure. "You two break up every other day." I lowered my head, staring at my own shoes on the pavement. A bitter, suffocating sadness rose from my chest into my throat. When I spoke again, my voice was hoarse. "It's for real this time. We're not getting back together." Sarah seemed uninterested in my romantic drama. She checked her watch. "Can you get home by yourself?" "My stomach hurts," I said, looking up at her, my eyes slightly red. "You know I just got over that ulcer. I shouldn't drink so much, but today's my birthday. I'm just in a bad mood, Sarah. That's why I drank." She didn't say anything, but her gaze seemed to soften just a little. "I'll take you home first." "I don't want to go back there," I said quickly. Sarah glanced at me, her eyes seeming to deepen in the dim light. "Then what do you want to do?" "Sarah," I pleaded, my voice small, "it's my birthday today. I don't want to be alone." She was silent for a few long seconds, then finally spoke. "Get in the car with me first." We ended up kissing in the basement garage of her apartment building. She had parked the car and was leaning over to unbuckle my seatbelt for me since I was fumbling with it. As she leaned in, the bridge of her high nose accidentally brushed against my cheek. I was drunk, my reaction slowed, and I just stared at her, forgetting to move. Sarah looked at me, and she didn't pull away either. Her eyes, usually so cool and professional, gradually grew warmer, making my mouth feel dry and my face hot. I don't remember who moved first. All I knew was that one moment we were looking at each other, and the next, she had pulled me in, deepening the kiss. I had been on and off with Chloe for nearly 3 years, and we had been together for almost a year straight this last time. We'd held hands, and she had kissed me, but they were always quick, superficial pecks, like a bird skimming the surface of water. Sarah's kiss was different. It was deep and consuming, so much so that I was almost out of breath before she finally pulled back. In the dim light of the car, she rested her forehead against mine. "Alex," she whispered, her breath warm. "You should close your eyes when you kiss." "Why?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Sarah kissed me again softly this time. "Because when you look at me like that, I don't think I can hold out until we get upstairs." This kiss was long and comfortable. I couldn't help but let out a soft sound, raising my hand to run my fingers through her thick, dark hair. "Sarah," I murmured against her lips. "No rush. We have the whole night." I didn't want to be a pathetic second choice anymore. I didn't want to be at someone's beck and call. Letting go of someone you once genuinely cared for is hard, incredibly hard. So I decided not to give myself any way of turning back. After tonight, there would be no possibility of Chloe and me ever getting back together. Maybe it was because I had repressed so much for so many years, but on the rare occasion that I drank and let myself go, I really went all out. Sarah took me up to her bedroom, and as she stood by the bed, she paused while unbuttoning her coat and leaned down to look at me. "Alex, if you regret this..." I hooked my arms around her neck and pulled her down. "Sarah," I said, a smile playing on my lips, "do doctors like you also get cold feet at the last minute?" She didn't answer with words. Her kisses became deep and strong, landing on my skin like fire. "Alex," she murmured against my ear, her voice husky. "Say my name." "Sarah," I moaned softly, and her kisses rained down on me like a gentle cascade. Late into the night, a cold, early winter rain began to fall outside, soaking the delicate flowers on her terrace. But inside, it was a different kind of intoxicating warmth. The next day when I woke up, the sun was already high in the sky. It was Sarah's day off, and she had already prepared breakfast. After I washed up and sat down at her dining table, she handed me a glass of warm milk. I hesitated for a moment before asking, "Sarah, can I take a photo?" Just 10 minutes earlier, a nosy friend had sent me a screenshot of Chloe's latest social media post. It was a picture of her and Ethan holding hands under the sky full of fireworks from last night, with the caption, "After all these people, it's still you." Someone had commented below, asking about me. Chloe's reply was curt. "Don't mention him anymore. Ethan won't like it." Sarah was slicing a piece of bread, and she placed it on my plate. Her hands, which I knew were usually steady and precise holding a scalpel, were now holding a simple knife and fork. Every finger was like carved ivory, long and strong. It reminded me of last night, of those long fingers causing chaos on my skin, and of the usually polite and unapproachable Dr. Sarah, and how surprisingly wild she could be. I cleared my throat, turning my head to hide a slight blush. I wanted to take a picture of your hands." She didn't respond verbally, but after putting the bread on my plate, she left her hand resting on the table. I slowly took out my phone, snapped a picture, and then asked, "Can I post it online?" Sarah nonchalantly peeled a hard-boiled egg. "I'm single," she said, glancing at me before placing the peeled egg on my plate. "Do as you like." I posted the picture on my social media with the caption, "The bread cut by beautiful hands always tastes better." The photo was just of her mesmerizing hands and the breakfast spread. In seconds, it spread like wildfire. The group chats with all of Chloe's friends started lighting up with screenshots of my post. Is this for real? Photoshop, right? No way, those hands are gorgeous. I never thought Alex had it in him. This is probably just a photo he found online to get back at Chloe. So childish. What do you think, Chloe? What if it's real? He's pretty enough to pull a girl like that. Chloe's response was dismissive. He wouldn't dare. Tell him to quit playing these dumb games. He's not Ethan. I'm not falling for it. My phone buzzed with messages, all hinting at the meaning behind my post. I skimmed through them and didn't bother to reply. In the afternoon, Sarah suddenly got a call from the hospital and had to go in for an emergency surgery. "Stay here and rest," she told me as she changed her clothes and grabbed her keys. "I'll be back for dinner." I quickly followed her to the door. "I want to stop by my restaurant for a bit." Sarah paused while swapping her shoes, eyeing me calmly. "You have plans?" I pressed my lips together, averting my gaze. "Chloe's things are still there. I should pack them up for her assistant to come and get." Sarah's expression remained cool. "All right, I'll drive you." "Sarah," I started, wanting to explain. "There's nothing between her and me anymore." Before the words were even fully out of my mouth, I regretted them. Honestly, Sarah probably just had a spur-of-the-moment desire to bring me home. I didn't need to explain myself to her. But she looked back at me, her eyes surprisingly gentle. "I know," she said softly. "I'll come pick you up after work tonight." After she dropped me off at my small, private kitchen restaurant, Sarah drove off to the hospital. I went inside and started sorting through Chloe's things. I run this tiny place, and I had set aside a private room just for her. Sometimes she'd use it to entertain her close friends, and occasionally she'd even stay the night. But we never lived together. She had held me, and she had kissed me once when she was drunk. We almost went further, but in the middle of it all, I heard her slur Ethan's name. In that one moment, I sobered up completely. The body doesn't lie. Maybe it was right then that I finally woke up from this messy, hopeless love. Chloe didn't love me, not even a little. I carefully packed her belongings into 2 suitcases and then called her assistant. "Could you find some time to come by and pick up Chloe's things?" "Alex? Hold on a second, sure." A few minutes later, the assistant called back. "Alex, Chloe said to just leave the stuff there. She wants to stay friends and said she'll keep looking after your business." "No need," I said with a polite smile in my voice. "You should just come get it. It's better to avoid any complications. I'm at the restaurant now, waiting for you. If you don't come, I'll have it all sent over." With that, I hung up the phone. Her assistant was a bit stunned. I could imagine her asking Chloe what to do. From what the assistant later told a mutual friend, Chloe's face showed clear displeasure. In 3 years, this was the first time I had acted this way. First, the social media post, and now clearing out her things completely. She apparently found it amusing, thinking I was just putting on a show out of jealousy, advised by some friend on how to play hard to get. She thought she knew me best, that I was head over heels for her and could never like another woman. She told her assistant coldly, "Go take everything back. Tell him I won't be going to his place again." When the assistant arrived to pick up the luggage, she passed on Chloe's message. I wasn't surprised. Ethan was back in the country to settle down for good, which meant their good news was likely imminent. Even if I had no place in Chloe's heart, I still carried the label of an ex-boyfriend. It was best for everyone to draw a clear line. "Please, also thank Chloe for her patronage over the years," I said politely. "Alex, actually, Chloe doesn't mean. I'm heading to the market now," I said with a smile, effectively ending the conversation. The assistant had no choice but to leave with the 2 suitcases. I heard later that she called Chloe from the car. "Chloe, where should I send your things?" she asked. "What did he say?" Chloe demanded. "He said he's thankful for you taking care of his business," the assistant replied, then paused. "And nothing more." Chloe was silent for a few seconds before abruptly ending the call. On the third day after that, the restaurant got a large booking. Someone had reserved 2 rooms for an event. At 6 in the evening, Sarah came by the restaurant after she finished work. She wore a gray trench coat, looking as tall and elegant as ever, but her demeanor was different from that first night. The chilly aura around her was gone, and her gaze was much warmer when she looked at me. "It's going to be busy tonight," I told her. "It might be tough for me to keep you company." "No worries," she replied softly. "I'll just wait in a room." "What do you want to eat? It's your first time here. I'll have the kitchen make something special." I had a special lounge set aside for friends. "I'll take you there, and they'll bring the food right to you." But as I started to lead the way, Sarah didn't follow. She leaned against the bar, watching me with calm, knowing eyes. I was puzzled. "What's up?" She chuckled. "I don't go into other people's rooms." I was taken aback for a second before I understood what she was referring to. Chloe's old room. "Don't overthink it," I said quickly. "That old room is just a regular guest room now. This lounge is just for my friends." Sarah's smile deepened. "All right then." Her words had barely settled when a cool, familiar voice came from the doorway. "Excuse me." I instinctively pulled Sarah to the side, and my eyes fell on Chloe and Ethan. Chloe's gaze passed over me coldly, then lingered for a moment on my hand, which was still clinging to Sarah's sleeve. Her expression turned even icier. Vincent just raised his brows at me in a mocking way. "Alex, long time no see." I just nodded, saying nothing. Chloe averted her gaze, wrapping her arm around Ethan's as they moved past us and into the main dining area, not sparing me another glance. Once they were out of sight, I felt Sarah gently squeeze my hand. "You have to show me the way," she said, her voice a low murmur. "I have no idea where to go." Nodding, I let her lead me by the hand. After showing her to the lounge, I was about to head back to the kitchen. "Rest here for a bit. If I get a break, I'll come have dinner with you." Sarah grabbed my wrist. "You have chefs and servers, Alex. You don't have to do everything yourself." But before I could continue, she reached up and kissed me. It was just like that overpowering, surprising kiss from the other night, and I struggled to handle it. "Sarah, not here," I whispered, trying to push her away, but she leaned in closer, a playful, almost wild look in her eyes. "Right here, Alex." Evening had fallen, and outside the window the sky was dark, and the wind was howling. Through the window, not far away, the lights of the main dining rooms were blazing. I could see the shadows of people bustling about, hear the clinking of glasses, and Chloe was in the middle of it all. It was a ridiculous yet strangely thrilling and exhilarating thought. I lifted my hand and hugged Sarah tight. "Sarah," I whispered, "give me a kiss." She obeyed, kissing me deeply. When I finally left the lounge, my neck was still warm from her touch. I was hurrying towards the back kitchen when Chloe's voice suddenly called out from behind me. "Was that the one from your social media post?" I turned around, surprised to see her standing in the cold wind, her face stern. I was about to reflexively shake my head, but she just snorted. "Alex, don't waste your time." Her fingers, holding a cigarette, reached up to touch my cheek, but I turned my face away. Her voice was low and melodic, but her words stabbed at my heart. "Using another woman to piss me off. Alex, the way you're playing these little tricks now is not charming at all." I found it amusing, but also sighed, shaking my head. "Chloe, I'm really not that bored." Maybe she would never understand. While she still arrogantly believed, as she always had, that I would forever be her backup plan, always humbly in love with her, the reality was that I had already moved on. "Believe it or not," I said, not wanting to argue anymore, I walked around her and left without looking back. Since that day, Chloe hadn't come to my little restaurant again, and Sarah and I continued our relationship. We got closer, yet somehow, we never really crossed a significant, defining threshold. About half a month later, I was at a club with some friends. It was supposed to be a group hangout, but Sarah got called into the hospital for another emergency surgery. I took out my phone to check the time. It was already 10 p.m. She had thought she'd be done by 8:30, but there was still no word from her. I got up, feeling a bit down. I knew that as a doctor, saving lives was her duty, but it was still a little disappointing. I'd been stood up or left hanging so many times over the years, yet it still got to me. It's tough to become totally immune to that feeling. Alex? Just as I turned to leave, I heard a familiar voice call my name from behind me. My back stiffened for a moment, but I quickly composed myself before turning around. It was Chloe. "What's up?" She walked up to me casually, raising an eyebrow as she looked me over. "Hanging out with friends?" "One of them couldn't make it," I replied calmly. Chloe laughed as if I'd just told the funniest joke in the world. "Alex, you know how dumb you look when you lie?" I was a bit stunned, but then I realized what was happening. This was one of her favorite clubs. She must have thought I was here for her and was just too embarrassed to admit it. I didn't bother trying to explain. She wouldn't have believed me anyway. So I just smiled at her. "I'm heading out first." "Alex," she called out to me again, stopping me. "You can't keep making the same mistake over and over." "You're wrong," I said, my voice steady. "I really am waiting for a friend. She had an emergency surgery at the hospital. The one from my social media post." Chloe's smile turned colder. "Mark, I never knew you had any doctor friends." "I met her during my last illness," I said, looking right at her. "Remember that night I called you? I said my stomach hurt really badly, and you hung up on me?" Chloe's expression finally changed, her composure cracking bit by bit. There was a flicker of panic in her eyes. "You were actually sick? I thought you were just jealous of Ethan and making stuff up to trick me into coming over." "It's fine. It's all in the past now. I'm pretty much better," I said with a small smile. "It's late. I'm heading back." For some reason, Chloe didn't try to stop me again. That was for the best. No more ties, a clean cut. That was the way to go. By the time Sarah finally wrapped up her surgery, it was past 11 p.m. I had just arrived back at my empty restaurant. My phone rang. "Alex, I'm driving over to see you now," she said. "Sarah, you just finished surgery. You must be exhausted. You should get some rest." "I stood you up first. I owe you an apology in person." "Sarah," I said her name softly. "I've always tried to be realistic about things. For the past few weeks we had this close, physical relationship, but she had never promised me anything. I knew Sarah was probably just looking for something new, a diversion. She didn't really like me. It was like my 3 years with Chloe. I had always known she never truly saw me as a real boyfriend. In her world, everyone was wealthy and exceptional. I was just a regular guy who ran a small restaurant. My only plus side was probably that I was easygoing and could cook a good meal. Just like Chloe loved flashy, handsome guys like Ethan, a woman like Sarah wouldn't be into someone like me. Back in college, she was the brilliant senior everyone talked about, and she dated that stunning guy from the English department. They were the campus power couple. I knew they broke up because he wanted to stay overseas, and she wanted to come back home to be a doctor. I'd seen that guy a couple of times back then. He was better looking than most movie stars. Only a guy like that could make Sarah fall hard. "Alex? What's wrong?" Sarah's voice on the other end of the line was hoarse with exhaustion, but when she said my name, it sounded surprisingly tender. I felt a sting in my eyes. It was all a one-time thing, a drunken mistake. "Sarah, let's not see each other again," I blurted out. There was a long pause on the other end. When she spoke again, her tone was back to its usual calm. "Alex, let's talk about this in person." "No need, we can just talk over the phone." "I'm on my way now. About 30 minutes, she said firmly. "Wait in your shop. Don't go anywhere. It's late and it's not safe." She ended the call before I could protest. A jittery unease filled me. I had no idea what we would talk about or what she would say. 30 minutes felt like both an eternity and no time at all. Then my phone rang again. "Alex, I'm outside your shop." I thought about not going out, about not seeing her. It's one thing to know your own insecurities. It's another to hear them confirmed. But I could hear the wind howling through the phone, and I knew how freezing it was outside. In the end, I went out to see her. "I'm sorry for bailing on you tonight," she said as soon as I was in front of her. "I'm not mad. You're a doctor. It's your job. I understand." "Then why did you say we shouldn't meet anymore? Was it because of that night?" "Alex, it was just an accident. I'm not going to cling to you over it. I know you don't like me." "So you think I just bring random people home for the night?" she cut in. "No, that's not what I meant," I defended myself quickly. When you posted on social media the next day, I thought you were announcing a new relationship." She paused. Turns out I was overthinking it. "Sarah," I said, my eyes wide with surprise. "So you don't actually like me, right?" "Chloe came to see you again, didn't she?" Sarah's tone was calm, but there was an edge to it. "You still can't forget her. The social media post was just to spite her, wasn't it?" I couldn't detect any emotion in her voice, but an incredible thought popped into my head. She sounded jealous. Jealous of Chloe. I had completely let go of Chloe on my birthday. I truly didn't like her anymore. Sarah took off her glasses and rubbed the bridge of her nose. She looked utterly exhausted. Her eyes were bloodshot from the long hours of surgery and the cold wind. Standing there in front of me in just a thin coat, saying those words. Even if I was dense, I could tell she had some feelings for me. But why? I was just an ordinary guy. "Alex," Sarah looked at me, and because her eyes were slightly red, she looked a little bit aggrieved. "You can't treat me like this. You can't just start something and then walk away. You have to be responsible." "I haven't. You just said we shouldn't see each other anymore." "I was just worried about causing you trouble. I didn't want you to think I'd cling to you because of that one night." "So you don't like Chloe anymore? The social media post wasn't to make her jealous." I wanted to laugh, but my eyes oddly filled with tears. In the dead of night, she stood in the wind, shielding me from the biting cold. I looked up and saw the tiny reflection of me in her pupils. Only me. Why was it her that night? Maybe it all went back to that one late night, long ago, when my ulcer flared up so badly I thought I was dying. It was her warm hand that had reached out to me then, her calm professionalism that had saved me. So when I saw her on my birthday, some intuition told me she would save me again. And she did. She reached out her hand to me a second time. Maybe I shouldn't miss it again. "Sarah," I said, a real smile finally reaching my eyes. "Stop being so unnecessarily jealous, okay? I haven't liked her for a long time now." Before I could finish my sentence, Sarah cupped my face with her cold hands, stood on her toes, and kissed me deeply. What I didn't know was that Chloe had been there the whole time. After our confrontation at the club, she had inexplicably driven to my restaurant. She must have seen Sarah's car pull up. She must have watched as Sarah, the beautiful, elegant doctor she arrogantly thought would never be interested in me, got out of the car. She must have watched as we talked, as we kissed, as I led Sarah inside my restaurant, my home. She must have watched as the light in my window stayed on for a long time, and then finally switched off, plunging the room into darkness. And in that darkness, She must have heard something in her own heart finally shatter for good. My bedroom wasn't very big, and the bed was a little small. Sarah was feeling cramped, but she refused to go back to her own apartment. I felt bad about her being so exhausted and offered to sleep on the couch, but she wouldn't allow that either. Lying there beside her, half awake, I couldn't help but ask the question that had been bugging me. Sarah, why were you always so cold to me back then? Even after your attitude softened, but I never dared to think you actually liked me. Sarah held me tighter in the dark. Because you kept breaking up and getting back together with Chloe, she whispered. So I always had to remind myself to keep my distance. That time when you got sick in the middle of the night and she didn't care, I thought you'd finally break up with her for good. But you didn't. She shifted to kiss me, her tone growing more serious. Alex, I was really angry at you back then. I didn't understand why you didn't take better care of yourself. I had thought about breaking up, I admitted quietly. But it was silly. My birthday was coming up and I didn't want to spend it alone. My dad died when I was little, and my mom passed away when I was in college. I opened this little restaurant to fulfill my dad's dream. My mom was an amazing cook, and she left me all her secret recipes. So after she passed, I used their inheritance to start this place. But people with no family, we always crave a little more warmth, especially on birthdays. You just want someone by your side. I sighed. I didn't think it would turn out like this, but then I met you that night. It was a blessing in disguise. I was lucky I ran into you, I added. Sarah didn't speak for a moment, then just hugged me tighter. Alex, she said softly, there aren't that many coincidences in the world. It was just someone silently working very hard to get closer to you. She confessed she was mad about my lack of self-care, but mostly she just felt for me. She told me about a night, years ago in college, when she saw me hiding away, crying on the anniversary of my mom's death. She said I looked so heart-wrenching, but the very next day, I was back to acting strong, laughing and joking with everyone. She said I was lovable and heartbreaking all at once. She told me about the Christmas Eve when I blushed while giving her an apple, and how she was secretly moved, but she already had plans to go overseas, and I was still so young. She thought maybe when I grew up a bit, and when she returned, things could be different. So she said nothing. But my apple was the only gift she accepted that year. She kept it for a long, long time. She never imagined that after she left, I'd fall for someone like Chloe. For 3 years, she had watched from a distance, which is why she was always so guarded. She was afraid that if she wasn't careful, I'd pick up on her feelings and pull away completely. Until my birthday. When I told her I didn't want to be alone, she instinctively brought me home. And now, I was sound asleep beside her. I felt her gently kiss my forehead. I knew then that she would never let me shed another tear.